behalf of my colleague Christine at the National Cryptologic Foundation, we welcome you to this cyber chat. We're very pleased today to bring to you a topic about near and dear to all of our hearts, and with our very close partner, Teach Cyber. We're very happy that you're here today to talk about the future of cybersecurity within the K-12 environment. Very pleased to have Jenny Daugherty, Dr. Daugherty, with us today. Great partner with the foundation and Dark Enterprises that runs Teach Cyber. Jenny's got over 15 years of experience in K-12 STEM education and mainly in developing curriculum. So we're very happy that you're here, along with Mark Emry. Mark, I had a great opportunity to be introduced to, and he's got over 28 years of teaching in the middle school environment and teaching AP computer science and computer science principles, and leading a lot of cyber education. I know when he was in South Dakota, and he made the good, warm decision to move to Texas, where he is now. So he's having the same impact while he's down in Texas. So we welcome both of you today, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts. Folks in the room, please feel free to use the Q&A to provide us questions, and Christine and I will monitor that Q&A and provide the questions to Jenny and Mark. So Jenny, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mark, Christine, and Megan, for setting this talk up for us. We were asked to talk about charting a path to a future in cybersecurity. And I think what's so exciting about the field of cybersecurity is that you can do just that. You can chart your own path. So it isn't just one, in this image here, one road that you have to walk down, that you can actually create the path that's going to work best for you. The field of cybersecurity is quite broad, and the need for folks that are passionate and interested in an aspect of cybersecurity is great. So there are a lot of options to have a fruitful, productive, exciting career in cybersecurity. So we often talk about it as pathways, which we'll share a little bit later, that there are a lot of different entry points into a career, into a future in cybersecurity. So Mark and I are going to share a little bit about what we think cybersecurity is, a few thoughts on charting that path, some entry points if you're in high school, or if you're a teacher interested in teaching cybersecurity, so students kind of spark an interest in a future of cybersecurity. So if you have access to the chat, I'm going to show some images. I think it's often helpful to think about a field, a future in images. Sometimes it's really difficult to put things into words. For example, my godson is graduating from high school, and keep asking him, what do you want to be? And right now he doesn't know. There's not a particular career that he's looking at. But when you start to talk about images or things of interest, it starts to pull together a picture of what he might want to pursue. And so maybe that's similar for you. So when you think about cybersecurity, I have a few images here, and I just wonder what sparks your picture of what cybersecurity is. So this first one, and if you have access to chat, if you could put that in the chat, which one as I pull these up, or just in your head here, which one best represents what you think cybersecurity is. So this first one, if you can see, there's soldiers climbing up a keyboard. And so often cybersecurity can be a picture at a global kind of a cyber warfare picture. So if you pay attention to the news, for example, recently SolarWinds, that was at the kind of nation state level and trying to collect information, a lot about global structures, politics. So that's maybe one image. Another image could be, this is like depicting a virus on a computer. So very much at the very local level, things that we do around cyber safety, and maybe in an organization working to help protect employees' computers, but from some type of attack or a virus to make sure that the computers are working properly. Maybe you think more of a hacker, and this picture is trying to demonstrate more of the hacktivism. So more of the kind of the potentially ethical hacking, if you've heard that phrase before. Maybe that sparks your mind of somebody that's actively working to do something in cyberspace. In this instance, more for maybe good. But, you know, when you think about hacking, sometimes that's not as positive of a picture. The fourth picture here may be an image of, when you think about cybersecurity, you think about the hardware or the software, the technologies, the tools. So maybe that's where your mind goes. It's not necessarily this global conflict. Maybe it's not, you know, people working behind the scenes. It's very much about how things work inside the computer, inside software. And then with the security piece, how, you know, if you see that wall, how to make that device or software safe or secure. And then one more image here. Maybe you think about it as a field of people working behind the scenes and people working behind the scenes together with the thought that things interconnect. So there's some complexity involved. There's certainly the hardware software piece, the technology piece, but it's the people working together to make the organization or the technology secure for others to use. So if you can chat, go ahead and put which one do you think best represents cybersecurity for you? And if you can't, maybe just vote in out loud or in your head which one best represents. Oh, great. We have a 5. Anybody else? Number 1. Ooh, exclamation point. Excellent. Another 5. 3. Okay. All right. 1, 3, and 5 so far. Anybody else want to vote?
I expect to see the New Hampshire teachers voting. And a shout out to the first person who voted from Round Rock.
So we had it sounds like a classroom, a lot of 2s and 5s from New 3 and 5. All right, so we're seeing votes across the spectrum here, and I think that is because it represents the field of cybersecurity. It's all of these things. Maybe for us, there's a piece of it that might be a little bit more attractive or something that resonates really strongly. I think when I got into cybersecurity, I very much thought of it as number 2, as very much there's some bad things happening, viruses out there, and a cybersecurity professional tries to stop that. And as I've worked more in cybersecurity, particularly developing curriculum, I realized it's a lot of things that intersect with cybersecurity. That's why I'm super excited about it. That maybe I don't want to specialize really deep in things like coding, although that's a place that a lot of cybersecurity professionals can focus. I want to focus more on the interpersonal part, or working with others and coming up with policy, for example, ways that can help our behavior as people interact with technology to keep the organization or ourselves more safe and secure. But also, I think it's really interesting to think about the kind of hacktivism piece of it and the ethical dynamics of cybersecurity. So there's just a lot of pieces that go into cybersecurity today. And that means there's a lot of options when you think about a future if you're interested in cybersecurity. So thank you for voting and participating. We'll move on to the next slide.
Yeah, I think when I did that just a couple of weeks ago, I think I chose number 5. Yeah. But I started out as a number 3 with the firewall and that sort of thing. So cybersecurity, how long has it been around? We're going to keep the interactive part here. So have your typing fingers ready for chat. So when I think about it, when we compare it to other disciplines, fields, or if you're a student, right, these classes that you're taking, how long have they been around? So I want you to take a guess. When was each of these fields discovered? We'll go through like 6 or 7 of them. So in chat, when do you think math was first discovered and used and applied? Yeah, so Rome. So like BC, AD 300 BC.
I always have to count things.
Yeah, 1800 BC or from the beginning. Yeah, since the beginning, always had to count things. The Greeks, 3761 BC. Joe, that's very specific. I love that. Greek BC. Yeah, shout out to and 300 BC. Yeah, I have math was first discovered or as a discipline created in the 6th century BC. So great guesses. A long time, a 6th century. So awesome. So then we move on to engineering. So I always tell my engineering students that's applied math. So how about that? What do you think for engineering? When was that first discovered or used as a discipline?
Yeah, as a profession, a field.
As a profession, right. Got any guesses?
Yeah.
900 AD, yeah, 1600, 1600. Have you seen this before? Ancient Egyptians. Yeah, so I have the 1500s down. How about economics? When was that begun as a discipline or a field? Economics. 1600 says. The Sumerians, is that what? 1200 BC, 1500, 1518. So economics I have in the later 1700s. Yeah, somewhere around there, right? How about psychology? Oh, for all those students that don't know what you're going to do for a living or don't know what you're going to want to have for a job, my Bachelor of Science degree is in psychology. Lots of minors in computers, but that's about it. So psychology, what do you think about 1800s, late 19th century? Yeah, good guesses. 1900, 1600. I have down the late 1800s. Yep, so awesome. The next one is computer science. When was that started as a discipline or a field? Computer science. Pressure's on all you computer science teachers. 1982, 1935. 10560, is that in base 8? 1975. Here's a close to 60s. Ding, 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 ding. You win the prize of just being right. That's what I have. I have in the 1960s. Okay. Yeah. And so we're talking about like as a field. So yeah, and the Enigma machine, World War II. And then how about cybersecurity? When was that developed as a discipline or field? I'm looking at my cheat sheet over here. When was that? Any guesses? Oh, I'll give you a tour of the Tesla plant when you come to Austin, or maybe I'll make Alicia do it. To late 1989, 1990s, 2000, 1990s, 1970s. I think the award this time. Oh, and Joanne got in there. So I have 1972. It started with the project inside ARPANET, right? Have you heard of ARPANET? Or it was the predecessor to the internet. I believe the Department of Defense, right? Had the ARPANET at that time. So yeah, excellent job. Yay, everybody for guessing. Thank you. Yeah. better come to Texas. We need great teachers here too. So the next one, what is cybersecurity, right? Why is it important? What is it? It involves everything, basically, anything that you can think of. Maybe, I don't know if it involves this half-eaten apple or not, but hardware, right? The actual stuff you get to touch on a computer, or networking, right? Cables and routers, and then software that runs all that stuff. Data, right? Your text messages, right? Their data. Cybersecurity involves that. Your YouTube channels you like to watch. People, right? You can't do anything without people. So, right, the people have a huge involves that. So I'm not making any sense right now, but integration with the physical world. So it really is everything from door locks to firewalls to everything else it can think of. Okay, it involves all of that. Why does it matter? This is, I said, Jenny, I really want to do this one because I want to practice my why cybersecurity matters when I'm telling parents and students and administrators. So it matters, right? You can't go a day or basically an hour without looking at news that pops up. Somebody has had a denial of service attack on Yahoo, or somebody had personal information stolen, right? So corporations, right? Big companies want to secure their data, their information, right? They do stuff that they own. They don't want to let other people have that. Okay. Agencies. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Jen, I'm reading your note too. So national infrastructure, right? We have all of these, like the power grid. Oh, Texans know about the power grid. We lost power. So what if somebody attacked that? Could they take down all the power in important places around the United States? Okay, very important. And the last thing I want to say, it matters because this, I knew, but every time I hear it, it surprises me. I was at a conference last week or the week before, and the keynote speaker was from a national agency that she ran, a national agency. And the federal government has declared basically cybersecurity as the national cybersecurity education. And because we don't have enough people we'll talk about this in the industry, it's a national issue, right? It's something that we have to take care of and put money into and really get everybody excited. And so you know how to do this, okay? It's very complex. So there's so many challenges. It's so complex that it takes a wide range of people, like Jenny was saying. So if you're more interested in the people part of it, like social engineering, or if you're more interested in the networking part of it, it's very complex. There's lots of challenges that we have to meet. Okay, so I guess we can go on to the next one.
All right, so I'm going to talk just a little bit about this idea of complexity. And I think for me, that's what makes cybersecurity so interesting. So as we think about computing itself and computers, they themselves are complex. And then cybersecurity adds what Mark was just talking about, the dimensions of people. And then we get even bigger into nation states or countries, and they all interact with each other. But if you look just at the computer itself, many different components come together to do different things. And that's really what a complex system is. It's the outcomes depend on the parts and the interactions. So it's not just focused on each individual part. You have to think about how each part interacts with the other part to do something. And so working in complex systems, there's a lot of moving pieces. So if you just take that piece of just complex systems, you think about your commute to school. You probably go the same route every day. Back before we were virtual, when we were going in person, and maybe some of you are back to in person. But then your route may change based on an accident or a bridge being out. And so all of a sudden, the commute might double in time, because not only is that accident changing your route, it's changing everybody else's route. And so cars and vehicles, bikes, pedestrians have to navigate around that obstacle. And so that can really change the morning, the system of, the commute to school, and things can happen that are unexpected. Interactions can happen. One accident can lead to other accidents, delay in the day. If your teacher is involved in that and gets caught in traffic, the school day slows down. So our systems, our interactions with each other have an effect on the outcomes themselves. Another example is when your device, I'm sure we've all faced this. We talk about the spinning wheel, the beach ball, if you have a Mac, but it might lock up, or your phone might lock up. And something I tell my mom all the time when I get an urgent call that her phone isn't working or her TV isn't working, I say, unplug it or shut it down, wait a little bit, turn it back on, and odds are it's going to work again. And why is that? What is happening with the hard stop or shut down to make it work the way it's supposed to again? And that's because it's a complex system. Particularly think about a small device like a smartphone. It has a lot of pieces that are interacting with each other. And sometimes some factor can interact, and it's hard to predict why it didn't work one time and then it magically works another time. And so that's that idea of complexity, and really the field of cybersecurity is thinking about that complexity in a safe and secure way with the goal. So we're going to interact again. I'd like you, just in your head, kind of follow along there, solve this maze, and reach an exit. So I'll give you a couple seconds. Think about which exit. Okay. So the same setup, different outcome. If we're starting on the left, upper left, did you start on the upper left? I didn't give any rules or instructions, right? So maybe you started on the upper left. Maybe some of you started on the upper right to navigate the maze. Right now, the arrows are indicating some rules that we started on the upper left. And then there are 3 exits in this particular maze. Why did you choose the path that you chose? So maybe you chose the middle arrow at the bottom, that first, if you're looking left to right, that first green arrow, as perhaps if you started on the upper left, the fastest way out of the maze, although that isn't what I said. I didn't say you had to choose the fastest way out. Maybe you skipped that and moved up around and wanted to exit at the top because you entered at the top. So if you wanted to enter where, or exit where you entered, you would have chosen the upper right-hand corner. Maybe you impose that this maze, you're trying to get away and you want to exit the furthest distance from the top left corner. So is there a wrong answer if the goal is to exit the maze? No, yeah, there's a lot of options. It's in a simple way, a complex system, because we have different interactions. If you just imagine everybody on this call actually in this maze, we're bumping into each other. We may be tripping each other. We may be adding interactions that cause some of us to exit the first, and we're going to run by that one because it's getting crowded, and we're going to go a route that has less interaction to be able to exit the maze. Maybe some of us hang back and say, I didn't impose this idea of doing it the fastest. I'm going to wait and I'm going to walk through the maze and find the easiest way out. So if you think about multiple exits, there's multiple paths. The same input and environment can get different results. There's no guarantee the output will be the same. This is similar to like in video games. Many of you I know probably play video games, and this idea of what's happening within a video game, there's the same structure. There's a maze. There's some rules to the game environment, but then there's things that you do to interact. And so that causes other interactions or bonuses each time through that change the way that you navigate through the game. So complex cyber systems can also have unpredictable output, even within the same environment with the same input. And so when you think about that, that really makes it a challenge to work in a field where just within a computer or within a game, there are so many variables and so many interactions that can happen. So how would a potential hacker view the maze? So when we think about that, you just learned that the maze walls weren't impenetrable and had a few holes to slip through. So the shortest path to reach your goal or exit the maze is highlighted there. And so the system realizes that and can learn and adapt. And so when you think about potential hacker blocking that particular route, you can also think about what assumptions within the system have you put into the maze itself. So what are those assumptions about the maze that we all interacted with? I think I talked about a few that we might have assumed we needed to do it in the quickest amount of time. We probably all assumed as well that the sides were solid and impenetrable. It's a hard word to say, but there's no indication of height here, right? If we were physically in this maze, we could have just hopped. Yeah, you can hop over the wall. That would have been the easiest. Step in, step out. We don't know if we have tools or technology to tunnel our way through a particular wall. And I talked about some assumptions we made about where we start. So just quickly, this gets a little deep, but I think it becomes important when you think about the complexity involved in cyberspace, is that when you find a battle route in real life or in a game, you learn and adapt and change over time. It's what is called emergent behavior. We change and grow depending on our circumstances. We can all relate to this past year. We've never lived through a global pandemic before. We had to change behaviors and adapt to this complex system in our environment and be able to move forward. So attackers can learn and change their behavior based on prior failures and success. But we in cybersecurity can also do the same. So a patch fixes one vulnerability. What makes it really challenging is that an adversary finds a new way around that patch. So we're constantly evolving based off the interactions between agents in that environment or people interacting in that environment. So what makes it particularly, I think, I'll say exciting, challenging for sure, is that we can't know all the vulnerabilities that exist in say, just a computer or in a system in cyberspace. But all an adversary has to do is find one to exploit. But those of us kind of in the defending within cybersecurity, the professionals working in that space for an organization, for your school, for yourself, is you need to defend against all the possible vulnerabilities. And so the space that you get to work within, the environment is very complex. It changes daily. But that, I think, makes it very exciting to work in that area. So when we think about the charting a path in this field, and that there's so many different ways that you can work within cybersecurity, from the more technical to the more people-oriented spot, the need is really great. So right now, there are 520,000 unfilled jobs today, right now. There are open positions in cybersecurity. And that space of need is projected to grow 30% by 2029. So depending when you're in school, probably if you are graduating from high school in the next few years, or college in 4 or 5 years, 6 years, it's going to continue to be an even greater area where companies, organizations, nonprofits, schools, hospitals are going to need folks with expertise in this complex area of cybersecurity. So colleges are graduating more and more, and there's more college programs developing at the community college level. There's more certification programs developing so you can be certified out of high school, and more 4-year and graduate programs trying to meet that need. So that's what this bar graph is attempting to demonstrate, that green swoosh in the back is if we're able to graduate more and more students who want to pursue that field, we'll start to fill that unmet demand.
Yeah, before you go on, Jenny, real quick too, I wanted to pop in and tell a story. I know there's a lot of freshmen watching today. And one of my freshmen asked me just last week, we were talking about jobs in computer science and cybersecurity especially. And he says, but if everybody's going into them now, will there be jobs when I graduate? So he's a freshman, so 4 years. He said 4 years of high school and 4 years. So in 8 years, will there be? Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. I just read something yesterday that said that was, instead of 580, I read a number that was 3.1 million. So
yeah, the projections, I think this is probably conservative. Yeah, definitely.
Yep. So how do you get there, right? Where am I at now? I'm in middle school, or I'm in high school. You see all the squiggly little arrows. Okay, they're squiggly, I think, on purpose, right? So, right, if you're in K-12, where could you go? You could go out of school. Maybe you can get a certification, and we'll talk about those in just a sec. I'm going to quick hurry up too. You could graduate and then get certified and start right out of high school. You could go to community college. You could go to a university. From there, you can go on to grad school. You could go to the workforce. It all depends on community priorities, doesn't it? What is the need? Okay, what are you interested in? Okay, let's go to the next one. So what would you learn in cybersecurity? So Jenny and I were involved, and Mark and all sorts of people are involved in coming up with a set of guidelines and big ideas. Those of you who are in computer science principles, oh yeah, I've heard of big ideas. Well, we have 8 of them. And so what do you learn? Ethics. What's ethical behavior? I was just talking to students about that this week too in my class. What establishing trust? Huh? What do you mean trust? So that's a key principle of cybersecurity is, can I trust this data? Can I trust this person? Are they who they say they are? Is the data really what was sent to me, or was it changed along the way? Cool, you could do that. So ubiquitous connectivity, boy, that's a big word. A mouthful too. It took me a long time before I could say those 2 words together. You're always connected, right? You're carrying around this fabulous computer with you all the time. Some of us even call them a phone. Data, right? Is your personal data safe? Is the government's data safe? the systems that they're on, like Jenny was kind of talking about, is very complex. Adversarial thinking, oh, here it gets good. Can you think like your opponent? Can you think like somebody that's trying to attack you? And what are the risks involved in all of that? And then what are the implications? What does all this mean for society? What does this mean for people? What does this mean for governments? All of that stuff. Okay, and then where to learn. So there's so many places. Camps, or Gen Cyber, all camps are great. Clubs, right? You could have cybersecurity clubs even at school. Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. Apprenticeships. I was just talking to Dell yesterday. Dell Computers, big company, it's just right over that way. And they love to have people intern there if they're over 18, and then they pay them too. So when you're a high school senior. Competitions, how many are in Cyber Patriot competitions? How many did Cyber Start? Tons of them. Curriculum. When I first wrote curriculum 8 years ago, or however long ago it was now in South Dakota, there was nothing. I scraped together little pieces of things. So there's a slide on that. So I'm like, so cyber.org, Project Lead the Way, T-Cyber, all sorts of things. Ring, CodeHS. And certifications. What's a certification? Can I get a certification? Are certifications important for high school students? Wow. Yeah. And I just had a conversation with one of the teachers in this chat right now about this yesterday. So yeah, if you're a freshman, do you want certifications when you graduate? Do you want to get a job right away? You want a summer job? That sort of thing. So certifications can help you find employment.
I'll just quickly say Teach Cyber is an example of curriculum for the high school level. If you're interested as a teacher in teaching cybersecurity and you're looking for curriculum, we ask you to either reach out to us or go directly to our website. You can download the curriculum. We offer teacher professional development and other resources. So I just wanted to mention that if that's of interest. The few slides on complexity I took directly from our curriculum. So just a little snapshot. And then we have a lot of hands-on labs that use the US Cyber Range as a safe sandbox environment to actually do cybersecurity in the classroom.
So is this mine? Yeah. So yeah, a question came up. This is a shout out to Ms. Lau's class. Where do I go to college? Where do I learn this once I'm out of high school? So definitely, you should look for something called a CAE school. That's something to look for. It's the Center of Academic Excellence in Cybersecurity, and it's a program managed by, you can see there, by the NSA, and they designate community colleges, universities that have programs that meet this. Okay, so if you're really interested in it, if you find a CAE school, communicate with them, tell them that you looked for them in particular, and there's a lot of them around. There's lots of them in Texas. There's lots of them all over. I can't remember how many. Do you know, Jenny, how many there are now in the United States?
I don't.
I don't either. I did at one point, probably a few months ago.
358.
I was going to, thank you.
300.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know it's well over 200. So who wants this? Who wants cybersecurity education? Students, I got asked all the time last year, my first year here at McNeil High School, are we going to have a cybersecurity class? Are we going to have a cybersecurity class? Yes. Next year we start. So I haven't taught it in a couple of years. So full disclosure, but I've helped lots of communities and schools and teachers with it. So parents are interested in it, right? This is a high-paying job, right? You want to make a lot of money? When I was in South Dakota, parents and students were well aware of it because there was a university there called Dakota State University. And I think one of my juniors is going to go there. He's really interested in it. They actually have an NSA, National Security Agency building. Right when I was leaving, it was about halfway done on campus. And so I've had students in South Dakota that graduated, took my one little semester cybersecurity class, went to Dakota State University. Their first year they paid for, they got into the program, and their sophomore, junior, senior year were paid for, and they had a guaranteed job with the NSA or with somebody right out of college. And I've had 2 or 3 now that are actually doing that. So very exciting. So there's a lot. There's who else is advocating? There's school boards, right? Community members, businesses. We need the government, right? We need to have professional cybersecurity people doing professional work in it. So available curriculum. There's how I started. So I had to do a meme. So those of you who know me, like I know I like memes. So how it started, right? When we were first making this way back when, there was not much out there. I was in a blizzard, and especially when I was in South Dakota. That's what South Dakota looks like if you've never been to. No, it does. I'm kidding. And then now, yay, there's a whole bunch of stuff out there. There's lots of competitions, like we said, and curriculum. Very exciting stuff.
I think we left a couple minutes for questions. Any questions or thoughts to share?
Have you ever been involved in stopping an attack or a threat? Okay, Mark has. Tell us that story, Mark.
Yeah. One of my 100 million jobs I've had in my life was I was a software developer for a contractor for the United States Geological Survey, okay, the USGS. And I was so smart. I taught everybody in the USGS how to write in PHP, kind of when it was first developed. And we had all this stuff, and we're using MySQL database. Well, what I didn't tell everybody, or make sure to tell everybody, was that, you have to change the admin password on the on the PHP, right? On all the systems, talking about complex systems. So sure enough, somebody got into one of the computers, and they didn't do much. They just kind of looked around, because it was a computer that didn't have a whole lot of information on it, and they weren't able. We had systems in place where you couldn't go from one computer network inside the USGS to another one. But yeah, we had to deal with that. So they caught him right away, or her. I think it was a male at the time, and we then had to worry about how to stop that in the future. Something I learned, because this was, I was still teaching school at the point, and then I just started doing this, and this happened. We had to destroy the actual computer that was broken into. So we took it out and smashed it all to pieces. But yeah, we had to deal with it. We had to deal with the repercussions of a cyber attack.
We have a question in the Q&A. I'm typing an answer, but I'm interested in both Mark's response. Is this a dangerous job to you as a person?
Well, I'll answer first. It really depends. I think the interesting aspect of cybersecurity is it's so varied that we have people in all different walks of life in cybersecurity. And so if you go to CyberSeek, if you look above my shoulder is a address of cyberseek.org, you're going to see all the different types of jobs. And it not necessarily is dangerous, except if you start getting into forensics, possibly law enforcement, possibly the aspects of catching the hackers. There could be some danger in that activity. But there's so many different opportunities that it depends on what you'd like to do. If you like that danger, you can probably find some.
And then was that question also directed to me, Jenny? They came on the intercom, and I couldn't hear a word you were saying.
Yeah, it was just open. Is this a dangerous job to you as a person? I answered similarly to depends on the area you focus on. I think there's different levels of risk. But I think many cybersecurity jobs are often in an office or an organizational environment. So not necessarily a personal safety, but there can be what do I want to say? A lot of need for that. And, you're really helping the organization stay safe. So a lot of responsibility. That's the word I wanted. And then I think there is
I see a question. Do we still have to destroy the computers? I don't know. I don't work in the federal government anymore, or with them. Mark, do you know?
Well, on classified computers, we rehab them. The hard drives, obviously, many times are just destroyed because they're very difficult to get rid of the classified information on hard drives and on storage units. But the computers themselves we usually rehab them and give them to charitable organizations or other folks, and we just destroy the hard drives and put new ones in.
Yeah, that's what we did.
I mean, you can get a SD drive now that's a terabyte for just a couple of $100. So, it's not worth trying to save them. You just destroy them and throw them away.
Yes. This was probably 15, 16 years ago when that happened to me. So it was a different day.
I mean, my phone has a half a terabyte.
Yeah.
Hey, and send me an email. I'd like to hear more about your program there in Texas. So I'll put my email in the chat room here.
I put mine in there as well. Oops, earlier. If anybody wants to learn more about Teach Cyber.
And there's my Round Rock ISD. You can have that too. So.
Great. Well, I don't see any more questions here. This has been a great session. On behalf of Christine and myself and the National Cryptologic Foundation, Jenny and Mark, thank you so much for sharing with these students the multiple paths of, and I loved your maze example. There are multiple paths and pathways to get to a cybersecurity career, and we really appreciate you sharing that with our audience today.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Yeah, I had a great time. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
And we'll see everyone later. Thank you for joining us for our cybersecurity chats. Please go to our website, cryptologicfoundation.org, or our ccei.nepris.com to see about our future cyber chats. Have a great day.